Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast in the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to the show. Thanks again for tuning in this week. We are going over some practical advice the past couple of weeks, this week and the following week, for you to be able to just listen to a short episode. We're keeping these short and sweet, 15 to 20 minutes, but then take that extra time to implement some of what we're talking about and some of the action steps that I'm giving you at each of these episodes. Hopefully, you have been doing that over the past 2 weeks. We talked in the first week about creating awareness around where you're at in your life, where you want to see your life post-divorce. Last week, we talked about how willpower is a finite resource and creating structure is really important. Hope that you found some value in those. If you haven't listened to those, you can listen to this episode, still get a lot out of it. However, I'd suggest going back and listening to those two. It all kind of builds on each of the episodes. So pause right now, go back, listen to those two. They're only about 15, 20 minutes each, and then come back and listen to this. But what we're going to be doing today is talking about how you can upgrade the skills that divorce is exposing, or the lack of skills that divorce is exposing. There's a quote in construction, it's not even a quote, it's just a concept that pressure bursts pipes, right? So in our case, and I'm going to correlate this to divorce, pressure reveals where the cracks were all along. Divorce can have a nasty habit of exposing things we didn't want to look at, or that we don't want to address. It shines a bright light into our darkest corners, which is a good thing. But and here's the good news. Today we're not talking about shame or guilt. We're going to be talking about how you take those and you find what they are and then build the skills around those. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or inadequate right now, it's likely not a character flaw. Okay, it's just a skills gap. And we're going to talk about how to close those. Oftentimes, and I know during my divorce, I felt a ton of shame. I felt inadequate. I tried to be super dad, and none of that was in fact true. It was that I just had to do couple of steps that we've shared the past couple of weeks, but then this week's episode of building skills that could help me through the process, but also help me to improve my relationship with my kiddos. So you might be thinking that divorce is causing all of your problems. Okay. Well, you can blame the situation. You can blame the system, the legal system, and family court, and you can blame the conflict. But eventually, here's the hard truth: is you're going to need to, or your divorce didn't create the problem or problems. The divorce has revealed them. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Divorce didn't create the problems. It revealed them. It's like that stress test that I was talking about for the building or for the pipes. The earthquake of the separation and the divorce shows you exactly where those cracks are in that plumbing, or where there is a weakness in your foundation. So what is getting exposed is something that you either weren't aware of before or you were aware of and you may have been avoiding it, and now it is in your face and you're having to do something about it. For me, I'll share, it was what one of the things, like, because this was an ongoing, many things get exposed and you have many things to work on. There's not just a goal line and you finish and you're done, which is basically life, right? It exposed how easily I shut down emotionally under stress. When things got really hard and hot, I would retreat. I wouldn't step up and I wouldn't fight. It exposed that I had very, very few skills in managing conflict really well. And I knew how to fight, but I didn't know how to resolve situations. That was both mentally and emotionally myself, externally, set boundaries, etc. So that was one thing that was exposed to me. And I want to just say one thing that every one of you dads needs to hear is that I know that you love your kids dearly. And deeply. I loved my daughters dearly and deeply. But what I needed to learn, and unfortunately the hard way, and why I'm sharing this with you today and over this series, is that love is just not enough. I thought love would conquer everything. That's saying correct. But love, the way I want to describe it is an analogy. Love is the fuel in the tank, but skills are the engine and the steering wheel. So you can have a full tank of gas, which is your love. You just have all of this outpouring of love for your kiddos. But if you don't know how to drive the car with that engine, the how much horsepower it has or doesn't have, the steering wheel, the brakes, the accelerator pedal, those are the skills. You are going to either go off course or worse, you're going to crash that car, right? So we need to identify the deficits. Parenting under this extreme pressure of parenting, period, is a skill, right? So and that's not something we ever learn in school. We don't ever, when our children are born, we're not given a handbook and taught a class. There's some parenting classes that are out there, but it is a skill that we mostly learn on the job. Parenting under extreme pressure, like divorce, is also a skill that needs to be learned. Co-parenting with boundaries is a skill. If that is one of your issues, like it was mine, regulating your emotions when you're triggered is also a skill. Not something that anybody ever explained to me growing up, didn't ever explain to me in my early adult life. Is one of the things why we have Joey Klein and Inner Matrix System on the show all the time, and encourage you to go talk with him. He's created this system around identifying those and dealing with those emotions and feelings, and then actually utilizing them to go forward. So none of these skills we are born with. They are all learned. So that's the good news, guys. And that's why there is no guilt or shame in any of this, because if you are like me, you just did not learn any of this. But at this point, we need to be humble and just know that this time is showing us the cracks in our plumbing, the cracks in our foundation. So an example of what I did and I needed to do, and I've shared this before, and if you've read the Dad's Guide to Divorce, I talk about this. I literally went back to school to learn to be a better parent. And it was something that I then did. I went back to Love and Logic classes. I've talked about that on many of the podcasts before, and they're one of our trusted allies on the website. An absolute tremendous way in which you can parent your kiddos, a philosophy for parenting your kiddos. But it was challenging to have to go and do that. It was a little bit weird. It was a little bit awkward. But I'll tell you, after doing that for subsequent years, after I first found Love and Logic, but then also after the divorce, it helped me immensely. And most of all, it absolutely transformed my relationship with my kiddos. So I'll just make the brief plug for Love and Logic. Check that out anywhere. It is absolutely amazing. But the thing that helped me to do is stop winging it, which we're doing as parents if we don't have any kind of guidance, and started operating with a toolkit. And then I was able to build those skills. So within that process, one of the most critical things, and I talk about that in the Dad's Guide also, is that I started to learn presence and being present and what that meant, not just being physically there, but being mentally and emotionally there. Mindfulness, you hear this, it's more popular now than when I started talking about it 6 or 7 years ago. But it sounds sometimes woo-woo to guys, but think of it basically as situational awareness. For me, it helped me to notice when I was lost in my head. And I know as guys and dads, we get lost in our heads quite a bit, worrying about the next court date or an email from your ex or soon-to-be ex, instead of being present there with your kids who are right there in front of us, right? So what shifted was the skills to allow me to change how I responded. And presence isn't about being calm all the time. We talked about this on our parental alienation call this morning. It's not about being a robot. It's not about being scripted. It's simply noticing what is happening inside of you, which we talk about with Joey and the inner matrix system, whether that's anger, fear, sadness, without letting it run the show, right? So that's that whole inner matrix system that Joey has described and talked about. So identifying it, dealing with it, and then utilizing it to move in a direction that we want. So it's basically the difference between reacting blindly and responding with purpose. So with all of that said now, what I would like you to do, because we want to take some action this week, is I want you to ask yourself this specific question this week. What skill is this divorce forcing me to learn? You can journal it like we talked about in the episode a couple of weeks ago, or we've talked about regularly, or discuss it with somebody, a good friend maybe. But I want you to ask the question and answer, what skill is divorce forcing me to learn? Is it patience? Is it organization? Is it emotional vocabulary? Is it how to cook, right? What is divorce forcing you to address? And then the homework for this week is write down one area where you are struggling the most right now. And within that one area, find one resource you can explore this month to upgrade that skill. The example that I gave you was being present. One of the things that I had done in the past, but I needed to upgrade my skill, was learning meditation and getting myself grounded in that. But the other one I also shared with you was the parenting and going back to parenting classes. So I had more skills around how to handle situations with 3 kids as a single father, and that was the Love and Logic. So that was the resource that I found. So your resource, dependent upon what you wrote down, is as to what it is that divorce is forcing you to address now, and then finding one area that you're struggling the most in within that answer, and then find some resource for you to start working on that. It could be a book, it can be a podcast, a YouTube channel, a therapist, whatever it might be. But then I want you to treat it like job training, right? Because being a dad essentially is, I don't know about you, I feel is the most important job we potentially have if you're a father. So that is the action steps. Those are the action steps and the homework and what I want you to work on this week. And look, I also want to say, if you're trying to piece this together by yourself through trial and error, I did that for a long, long time. When I say long time, years. The fact that you are listening to this now and working on some of this stuff, and I've got great feedback from you guys over the past couple of weeks about doing this stuff. I understand that it's challenging, that it's slow, and it's painful. I did that for years, which is the reason why I built this community eventually when I finally started to figure my stuff out and said, oh my God, this is so much better. This makes so much more sense. I need to start sharing this. So I want you to know that you don't have to figure this out alone. Coaching can help you identify exactly what you need to work on and how to apply it in real life right now. That's why we built a community. We have the resources wherever you're at in your process and at whatever financial level you are able to become involved. We had just had our parental alienation call, which was a tremendous call that was completely free. You can check those out at thedivorcedadvocate.com under the events page. We've got free Q&As. We've got free group meetings. We've got the paid membership site where you can review all of those and listen to some of the previous group meetings. There's all kinds of resources on the website. Or if you want to fast track it, you can get some individual coaching one-on-one with me. And that's also at the website under the coaching tab. So wherever you're at, remember, you can't control the divorce, but you can control yourself and how you react and how you show up in the world. So, all right, fellas, that's it. Again, short and sweet. Put this stuff into action. Please, I've been getting great comments, and I appreciate you giving feedback on each of these episodes. If you found some value, give us a star rating. Whatever podcast platform you're on, just leave just a one-sentence comment or review or something. It makes the algorithms go crazy and helps other dads to find this podcast and find all of these resources. Thanks so much. Have a terrific week, and God bless. To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.